Good afternoon. Welcome to the 36th CALLERLAB Convention. Today is April 7th. This is the Do More with Less session. I am Bob Riggs. Your panelist is Larry Davenport. And we are going to talk about the subject of, when I looked at the subject on the email that came from CALLERLAB, would you moderate a session entitled Do More with Less? I went, I wonder what's behind that. And so I looked at the abstract, and the abstract said, can we call creative and interesting choreography with fewer calls? We believe the panel says yes. The challenge is to use fewer calls in creative ways which will be entertaining and keep the dancers dancing. Is this something we do all the time? Probably not, but there is entertainment value in using this technique sometimes. Is it easy and will not take any extra effort? Executing this type of choreography takes a lot of effort to do well. Question, can callers learn to use this type of choreography? We believe yes. Will the caller and dancers benefit? Yes. So when I looked at the topic of do more with less, my first question was, more what? More fun, more fellowship, more exercise, more challenge, more enjoyment. Okay, that sounds good. So the objectives of participating in square dance recreation are many and varied, but each participant has a desired outcome. I hope that all of us are aiming at an outcome of some of those more objectives. So our goal of leaders is to provide some form of a product or an event that allows each participant to achieve their goal of more fun, more exercise, more challenge, etc. So I went on and said, okay, now what does less mean? Does that mean less figures, less dance knowledge, less complexity? It could mean almost anything as we're interpreting that. So to deliver an event where we want to achieve the more, we want to do that by understanding the characteristics of the event that the participants are expecting. We want to know whether they are expecting an extremely challenging event or just a fun social event, and then determine what less we're going to use to do that. So in the preparation for this session, I went, okay, if I take the less that I think the EC meant when they identified the topic of less basics, I sort of divided it in this handout into two areas. The limited basic events that are using some subset of our dance terminology, and events maybe that are using full programs of our dance terminology, but where we wanted to focus on more fun with fewer of those terms in maybe one individual dance session, and get creative with the use of those terms. If you have participated in any of the community dance events, you know we spend a lot of time, well, how creative can we get with 5 basics? How creative can we get with 7 basics? How creative can we get with the CDP program of 25 basics? There is some choreography that is on the sheet that was handed out. I don't necessarily want to go through it per se, but I have a couple of interesting things, not necessarily at the real basic level. Entertainment comes from motion and music, and whether you're using 5 basics or 25 or 68, they all relate to how you entertain and how you entertain with that fewer number of basics. So what you'll see under the 5 basic category of things, you say, well, what's so special about circle left, corner left, partner right, circle left, circle right to home. That's nothing creative about that. Now, that's pretty basic. But that's dancing at the raw, basic level of a few number of basics. Now, you can go on and on and on with what can you do with that. And I'm not going to bore you with this. You can read this. And for most of the callers in the room, this kind of choreography is extremely simple to call. But I will tell you, for a group that is a limited basics group, it will be very entertaining and will be challenging for them if you do it. Some of the things that you'll see here, it doesn't say that you do these 5 basic things from squares. You might do them for 6 and fewer couples. You might do them in what I call small circle dancing, because they're circular choreography rather than square choreography. They can be done in squares, but that's something to be looked at. The 7 basic choreography simply is the 5 basic with pass through and separate, which allows you to do all of the goal posting kind of choreography, or the chicken plucker kind of choreography that you might find yourself doing. Larry's going to talk about some particular parts of a way he views the with less. And what I thought I'd do is let him talk about his stuff, and then we'll kick around some of the stuff that we might find at Mainstream. And we'll see if this microphone works.
Checking. Perfect. So I went through some of the same kinds of thoughts that Bob just went through when I was asked to do this particular session. First of all, I wasn't quite sure what their definition of more with less was either. I also wasn't sure why I was asked to do it, because I'm not known for creative choreography. So if anybody's here today to get the wealth of my knowledge of creative choreography and everything I do, then sorry, it's not going to happen. But I also wasn't sure whether we would have a group of to pick a time frame, greater than 5 years, a lot greater than 5 years of calling experience versus is there anybody in here with less than 5 years of calling experience? Whew, good. So maybe I've got something for you. I don't know. We'll find out. I also thought about what I do as a local caller and how I try to provide variety in my programs for calling to the same people every week. And so I've built what I'm going to tell you is build a lot along, just my philosophy of trying to add some variety, some interest to the choreography. And one of the things that picked up on what Bob said is that we may be doing something so much that we sort of get used to it or tired of it. But if we're still being varied in what we do, we may start to get tired of our own variety, if you will. But depending on your groups may not be tired if it's not the same old to them as well. So you just can never, ever, ever take out of the equation, are your dancers enjoying what you're giving them? I may be calling something that I've done a lot of, but if what I'm doing has still got the people I'm calling for really jazzed up, then I've got to pay attention to that as well. So for me today, more with less is really, as I was saying to Bob earlier, and I'll put it this way, it's sort of the opposite of less with more. And what I mean by that is if you have, okay, I've used these 50 calls this way, and I've used it forever, I need more calls, as opposed to deciding what else you can do with your 50 calls. So this is more with less. So my focus today is really focusing on the mainstream program. And the less for me is that if I provide some variety with some of the calls, certain things will happen to provide variety to the dance, and I'll explain what I mean as I go along. So the more that is going to come out of it is the different ways I might use less calls. So in order to provide some, and let me step back a second. So what do I mean by the less calls? So if I do a swing through always from a normal wave, and I never do a swing through from anywhere but a normal wave, if I take a different arrangement for that wave, that swing through is going to feel different. So I've done something more with just that call. So in order to be able to do this, you need to know something about your setups. How are you going to get to a different arrangement for your starting position? If you're doing things that your dancers aren't used to, they can get very uncomfortable very fast because they are not in their normal standard positions. So you need to know how to return them to that sense of normalcy or normalize, how long to leave them outside of normal, and how to get them back to normal. And at that point, whether your method be memory or module or sight, then how do you resolve? And that's not the purpose of this particular session, but that's part of it. So if you just, in my opinion, if you just tweak a call and use it from a different arrangement, by nature, some of the choreography you use after you've done that will in itself be different, even if you didn't necessarily plan the whole routine out. And so you will get more with the choreography that follows starting from a different arrangement than you might just get, more than you might think you're just going to get. And I've got some examples to try to illustrate that. So one of the things I did in preparing for this is I wanted to remind myself of some of the materials that might be available to me, so I went over to the convention booth here, and while I've got one at home, I didn't have one here, so I got myself another copy of what's called the Starter Kit for Newer Callers. Has anybody ever picked one up and looked at it? If you have, what you find in here is not really a recipe, but it is really a compilation of a lot of materials that CALLERLAB has produced over time, all in one fancy place. And so I found myself saying that it's sort of not really saying what this manual is by saying Starter Kit for Newer Callers. You could better call it a reference guide for callers because of the information that's in here. So for my approach to more with less, things that are in here that are useful, it's got names and pictograms of selected formation arrangements, so if you want to just check back and see what would be different than what you currently do, there's a guide to look at. There's a sheet in here called Analyzing a Call, and you can hear about Analyzing a Call sheet in other sessions, but it really is a sheet to allow you to analyze, do you know what the starting position is for a call? Do you know what the ending position is? Do you know what the hand availability is that you need going into it? Do you know the hand availability coming out of it? So you can really build up of an awareness by using the Analyzing a Call of how to really fit that call into your calling vocabulary. There's this discussion of smooth body flow, because if you're going to make a change in your choreography, one of the things you have to make sure is it still feels like dancing, it still works for the dancing, it still flows well. Information in here on modules as an approach to create your choreography, or methods of sight resolution. If you are not strictly a module or memory caller, method of sight resolutions, two-face lines, facing lines. They've put in here the standard, basic, and mainstream applications, so you at least know what people consider standard. So if you're going to do some variety, you're going to vary from something, you have a reference of what's the baseline for standard. Basic and mainstream definitions, and then the companion for standard plus applications and plus definitions. So there's a lot of reference material in here to allow you to do a little bit of homework in terms of how to vary your choreography. So as I said, I'm going to be less about giving you all the choreography, and I don't know that anybody's going to walk out here and say, wow, you should have seen that little piece of choreography I got in that session today, at least not from me. Maybe Bob has all that stuff. But I'm going to be more about how you can develop what you need. I've already talked about, when I went through the list of what's in the caller reference guide, I'll call it, two approaches. So you can create material out of modules. You can also really get familiar with moving dancers, formation, arrangement, awareness, so that you can really move. So how many people, is there anybody in this room that still primarily uses a module or memory approach to calling? We've got a hand. How many, got another hand in the air? How many people in this room consider themselves basically all sight? Anybody? What's in between? Between memory and all sight, is there something else that's in between? I know there's mental image and some other things. But even with all sight, I guess I consider myself all sight, so I will get up and it will be extemporaneous. But if I don't plan that for that extemporaneous calling, it's not going to happen. It's going to be very, very the same. So that's why I'm trying to say this is a method to maybe shake it up a little bit if you haven't. So the other thing before I put these examples on the table in front of you is since I don't tend to write out a lot of modules, I had to create some things for the purpose of illustration for this session, so I want to put a disclaimer on the table that some of these modules may have flow problems. I think they all resolve correctly, but they may have flow problems. Why might they have flow problems? I wanted to point out that if you basically are building your choreography out of your computer program or your checkers and you don't do the quality control with dancers, you could easily have flow problems. You imagine in your head where the flow problems might be, but you don't spot them all until you quality check them through your dancers, in my opinion. So I just wanted to get that on the table. If some of them people go, ouch, I've already apologized for it. So, do we want to, I don't think reading choreography is all that interesting. Do you mind if we get a square and I'll walk through some of this stuff and I'll try to illustrate what I'm talking about? We have 8 willing volunteers.
Yeah, let's get some volunteers out here.
So I'm really picked out 5 calls, swing throughs, pass the ocean, wheel and deal, flutter wheel, and walk and dodge. That's the less that I'm just working with for illustration today. And so the way I've set this up in my thinking is I put together one module, which is pretty standard, basic, plain vanilla, and I think everybody agree. Head square through. Here comes the swing through. Boys run, Ferris wheel. If you pass through, it's an Alaman left, but just star through and back out instead. Anybody ever done that before? So with a little tweak, we can change it slightly. So the head square through. And touch a quarter. All of a sudden, we have a new wave. We got the boys facing in, the girls facing out. So if we did a swing through from here, it's going to feel different. Now, for my taste, I'm not going to do a swing through first because the flow I don't like, so I'm going to have the centers trade first. Then we do a swing through, and it's a slightly different feel. I'm sure everybody in this room has done this one as well, but I just want to illustrate that by getting to one different arrangement, using that same call, it's got to feel a little different. Now, there are some different things we could do for this. We're pretty much normalized now, so we could do a scoot back. Go ahead and do it. Boys run, slide through, visit your corner, Alaman left, come on back home the quickest way possible. Now, if we set that up again without the whole thing, just head, step forward, face your corner, and touch a quarter. Centers trade. So we're back in that same thing. This time, a little different feel to it, but because we started from a different position, this next call is going to feel like it's a different position, walk and dodge. Because we had boys together, girls together at that point. Partner trade. Going to feel a little different if you like to do it this way. Do a right and left through. Some people will do that. Some people say, but you don't do it that way. Pass through. Wheel and deal. And this is one where I don't know if I checked the whole thing out in the whole way here. Pass through. And who did I want to get back to who this time? I think this is one where my checkers did not do me a good job on it, so let's just go back home. But the point what I was trying to illustrate is that from that basic position, all we did is throw a touch a quarter in there instead of a swing through at the beginning. Again, heads pair off, step forwards, everybody touch a quarter. Centers trade. So we can just continue. We're back in that same different wave. I know what I did last time. Swing through. Walk and dodge. Standard that time. Partner trade. Right and left through. Pass through. Wheel and deal. This time a pass through, hopefully Alaman left. Quickest way home would be fine. So I just simply forgot to call the swing through last time. It wasn't the problem of my checkers. Slightly different variation. I'm going to just put you back again. Pair off heads if you would and touch a quarter. Centers trade and swing through. That part I've been using as the takeoff point, and from that point, other choreography. So the girls run this time. Touch a quarter. The boys run. Pass the center, square through 3. Hopefully. Alaman, come back home. So these last two should have just continue to have slightly different feel of the choreography coming after. You got a piece of music and just see what it feels like dancing to it instead of walking to it, these last two. Talk with your neighbor. Introduce yourself to your corner. I'll pay attention to the square in case my module doesn't work. I might cite it out this time. Oh, okay, that'd be good. Head square through, in the middle go forward. Touch 1/4. Centers trade, swing through right here. All 8 circulate. Boy run to the right. Slide through, square through, 3/4. Trade by. Alaman left, on a right, left grand. Promenade back home. When you get there, side square through, in the middle go 4. Touch 1/4. Centers trade. Swing through right here. Centers run. Couples circulate. Bend the line. Touch 1/4. Single file circulate. Boy run around that girl. Pass through. Square through 3. Alaman left with the corner. Walk right into a right left grand. Promenade back home. When you get there, bow to the partner, bow to the corner. So I'd ask you, did any of that feel a little different because of just changing the original arrangement of the ocean wave? Or is that what you dance every night? So rather than keeping them up forever, that was a while. Do you want to add some stuff at this point?
Well, that's what I was thinking. If you guys still game? All right. So one of the things is if you take this and say, okay, what Larry was doing was out of some real standard, what I would consider real standard formation that you're used to. So let's do something. This is actually out of the 7 limited basic sequence, but it's some of you who were there on Sunday afternoon will have seen this before, but a lot of the people in the room were not. All right. Number 1, gent. Are you game for this? You get to be really key in this. All right? No pressure. All right. Number 1 couple, lead out to the right. Make a right-hand star. Number 1 man, come into the middle. Put your left hand in the middle of the square and walk around it. Everybody else follow him. Everybody else follow him. Just those 4. Go out to number 3. Make a right-hand star with number 3. It's the 6-hand right-hand star. Don't let him in. Let him in. Let him in. Go back to the center. Make a left-hand star around the middle of the square. Middle of the square. Everybody's following the leader. Go out to number 4. Make a right-hand star. Let him in. Let him in. Let him in. There you go. Back right out. Join hands. Circle to the right. I know. You didn't like that, did you? Go home. All right. Go home. All right. All right. So we'll go the other way next time. All right. I want to, now that you know the pattern, I'm going to let the number 2 man do this. All right. I think he can handle this. Number 2, go forward and back. Number 2, lead to the right, make a right-hand star. Number 2 man, make a left-hand star in the middle, the others follow. It's a snake. Make a right-hand star with number 4. Go back, make a left-hand star around the center of the square. Make a right-hand star with number 1. Don't let him in. Don't rush it. Back right out, circle left. I knew you. Get home. All right. Now, all right. So that's one of the ones that's on the sheet if you ever want to play with that. Let's do something else. Number 1 and 3, up to the middle and back. Do, sa, do, the opposite. Face the partner, do, sa, do. Face the corner, do, sa, do. Side, now you should, okay. You're facing, you finish the do, sa, do properly. Circle left halfway. We'll do a dive through. It's not on the list, but anyway. Centers pass through and Alaman left. Come back, square your set. Now, in the community world, you can have various adjusting things. Okay, I screwed up. I kept going number 1, right? That's not what I'm paying attention to. All right, number 2 and 4 go forward and back. Now, 2 and 4 join 2 hands with the person in front of you, circle exactly halfway, pass through, separate, go around 1, come into the middle, join 2 hands with the person in front of you, circle halfway, pass through, split the outside 2, separate, come down the middle, circle 2 hands with the person in front of you, pass through, do a U-turn back, you're done. All right, so there's a sort of strange pattern, but all it did was circles. 2 hand circles, no less. Face your corner. Do a 2-hand left-hand circle. That's circle left. That is a circle left, guys. Circle left all the way around. Go back, face your partner. Do a circle 2 hands with your partner. Left. Face in. All right. So, one of the things that I will tell you is you as square dancers know too much. All right? If you're dealing in the limited basic world, they don't know as much. And they don't end up in the same positions you do. Which ends up making this interesting, challenging for me, because when I'm calling in the community world, it's much easier than calling for you guys the same choreography.
But the point to me is that creative is really from the perspective many times of your audience, not necessarily from what you want creative to be.
Yes, exactly. So there's a little bit of a point there. There's a lot of things you can do with 2-hand circles, stars, dos-a-dos, that are just very interesting if you stretch your mind a little bit. Go ahead, Larry. You got something?
So let's, this time, instead of walking it, a similar setup, but to use past the ocean, where past the ocean is your less to get into more, and just see what these 3 feel like. So with music.
I'll give you something else to dance to.
Hips square through, in the middle go 4. Touch 1/4. Now the centers trade, and the centers run, and the couples circulate. Bend the line, past the ocean. Centers trade, scoot back. Boy, run around the girl. Slide through, past the center, pass through. Alaman left with the corner, come on back, promenade. Side square through, in the middle go 4. Touch 1/4, the centers trade, and the centers run. Couples circulate, bend the line, past the ocean. Split, circulate, swing through. Boy, run right, and the couples circulate, bend the line, slide through, square through 3/4. Trade by, Alaman left to the corner, walk right into a right left grand. Promenade short way home. Now the heads square through, in the middle go 4. Touch 1/4. Centers trade, centers run, and the couples circulate. Bend the line, past the ocean. Spin your top. Single hinge, circulate. Boys run, pass through, Alaman left with the corner, walk right into a right left grand. Promenade, short walk, bow to the partner, bow to the corner, give yourselves a little hand out there, dancers.
All right, I got one more thing. You game? Heads, men walk, ladies dodge. Single hinge, extend. Single hinge, walk and dodge. Bend the line. There's a bad one. Touch a quarter. Men walk, ladies dodge. Partner trade. And a right and left through. Make a wave and swing through. Girls turn back. Promenade. Get back home and now. Thank your partner. Thank your corner. That's enough. All right, so.
Does anybody who is dancing or anybody who is watching have any comments or questions or if anything I've done or anything Bob done? Is it? We'd love this to be a bit interactive as well. Cal, can we put you on the microphone?
All right. All right, I can do that. All right, so the last one I was just using was Honeycomb Fiddler FR 10034. Prior to that was Hazel May SIR 506. And there was another one, I can't remember which one it was. Oh, it was... Hazel May, SIR 506. Honeycomb Fiddler is FR 10034. And the first one was Jack Royal 402.
Lawrence Johnstone, Ukiah, California. I'm one of the ones who, when Larry asked, identified himself as primarily a sight caller. I do use modules occasionally, especially in situations where I can't identify the dancers. But one of my very good friends is a very modular caller, Bob Elling. And Bob pointed out to me one time that a lot of zero box zeros and singing call figures that start out from a zero box, that start out with a swing through, as you were doing, Larry, you can replace that initial swing through with a touch a quarter centers trade, and as long as the module doesn't use any sex-dependent calls, most of them will work without changes.
The other thing about whether you're a modular caller or not, if you're like me and don't write down a lot of choreography, but think about it, for the things that I was doing there, all I had to keep in mind for that particular tip or whatever, that I was going to use that touch a quarter centers trade to give myself a new wave arrangement instead of a normal wave arrangement. The rest of if I understand the flow of the dancers and the arrangement and moving dancers, the rest of the choreography will take care of itself. Sometimes it will feel pretty standard after that, depending on what I do. Sometimes it will be more. So in effect, when I wrote these modules so I had something for this session, it wasn't because I'm writing modules, but I just wanted to put some choreography together that might come after you did the simple switch of going to a different arrangement. So the less is, all you really have to do is know how to get into an arrangement that's a little bit different for a call than you normally use. And then after you've gotten there, if it's going to leave you non-standard, at some point how to normalize the dancers back out so that they're in a resolvable formation.
One of the comments that I would make is when we talk about less, we have to think about that. Choreography, in my mind, can be very simple and very complex. I consider myself a sight caller who uses, shall we say, I wouldn't call them modules, but I would call them call groups, maybe call groups or something of that nature. If you do singing calls and you use a set singing call figure that maybe all of us use, you're using modules. for all intents and purposes, you're doing a module caller. There's no caller in here that's 100% non-module caller. Now, are you 100% something else? Maybe, maybe not. You know, I consider myself a site caller. And when I went to school, they taught site resolution, and they never taught site calling when I went to the caller schools. And I was making a point to some of the caller school leaders. I said, there's a difference between extemporaneous calling and site resolution. There's a clear difference in my mind of those things. And over the time that I have been calling, I have learned a lot about how to make, as Dorothy Shaw would say, a well-balanced doodle of the number one man's track on the floor. Dorothy Shaw said every good dance makes a good doodle. And that has been something I've been aiming at. So when I look at the dance, I'm looking at the pattern on the floor that at least one dancer makes and how that lays out. Now, what that allows me to do is I know that sometime my choreography is taking me around the circle. Sometimes it's taking it through the middle. Sometimes I'm doing things in lines. Sometimes I'm doing in boxes. Sometimes I'm doing them in stars. And I move through those patterns to make a good, smooth dance out of it. And I think that that's a really important thing for newer callers to recognize. More experienced callers do that instinctively sometimes. Vic?
Vic Cedar, California. A few comments. One, on that star sequence, we did the 4 people star and the 6 people star and then the 8 people star. When I was doing the leading part, it was a little bit disorienting making that left-hand star with nobody starting it, but I got used to that. And then I noticed when we went out, we made the star 4, and that turned pretty quickly. Then we made the star 6, and that started turning, but it's a little bit tougher to get in. Then we made that star of 8. If we continued with the same momentum, there wasn't enough time for those last 2 people to get in the star because we just wanted to keep at the same rate. So that's a little glitchy point there, but it was a cool sequence.
What's interesting about that is if you do that in a big hall and people spread out and they're not dancers, they either won't do it at all, because I've used this now a couple of places, or they spread out and they instantly get it. It's really fascinating to see what happens in the different forms where I've done this, because I've now done it a few times. So interesting.
Yeah, that looks like something someday I might attempt at a one-night kind of thing. As for Larry's Past the Ocean sequence, that certainly felt a lot different when you're in the half-sashayed position, because Past the Ocean kind of has that, it comes up kind of strange when you're in the other position for that. So that definitely felt a lot different.
Larry's got some more.
I was going to say, well, before we get quite into that, when Vic was saying it was a little disorienting to come into the middle to make the left-hand star, it popped into my head that for a guy, he's never had, if they're dancers, he's never had a chance to lead on spin, chain, and exchange the gears, and that's the action to make that star.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? All right, Larry.
If I could get another volunteer 8, take a look at another call or two and just to see what happens. This time we'll use a different into an ocean wave because we're going to get to a different ocean wave arrangement, but not the one we used last time. I'll walk just the first part and then I'll go to the music. So this next one, I picked wheel and deal to be a little bit different, but to get to a setup, instead of the square through 4, touch a quarter, centers trade wave, this time what you're going to see, and I'll just show it, past the ocean heads. That in itself is a little different, right? Nobody knew who to move. That's also fun, just say past the ocean and see who goes. Now, if you're real quick at the past the ocean heads, then you just get the little jump, but not the Swing through wave. Extend. So where we're going to find yourself now, we've got a different wave than your standard boy, girl, girl, boy. I'm not a great pay attention to all. Somebody's going to tell me, well, this is a number 1 or a 1.5 or a 3 or whatever. Frankly, I've forgotten what I used to know about that. I just see this as 2 boys together, 2 girls together. But it's going to feel a little different. So at this point, I'm not going to get you back. Just head back out if you would, get back home if you would, and then we'll just do this with a little music. So this one's going to get us to a slightly different wheel and deal and a couple of different pieces of choreography following that. We're supposed to be doing a grand square or something in there. Now the heads past the ocean. Swing through right there. Extend. And the centers run. Couples circulate. Everybody do a bend the line. Pass through. Wheel and deal. Square through 3 in the middle. Star through and promenade home. Sides past the ocean. Swing through. Extend, and the centers trade, centers run around the ends, wheel and deal, touch 1/4, scoot back. Centers trade, and the centers run, couples circulate, everybody do a half tag, new centers trade, girls run around the boys, past the ocean, all 8 circulate, boy run around the girl, bend the line, right and left through. Alaman left. Come on back and promenade. We'll see if I left you right or wrong that time, but it was the checkers. Bow to the partner, bow to the corner. So the point, even that music off. So the point is, by just going now from a different little setup, a different setup to a, in this case, a wheel and deal, what followed, I didn't try to make all that different because I want to make it different, but things that seem to flow and scenes that seem to follow. Now, I didn't do any dancer testing on some of that as far as circular or this or that or anything else. That's not the point of the session. So, but I don't know if it felt like it was different again or not, but you've changed something to try to make it feel a little bit different. Less with more, I hope. Record number?
That's Groove Blue Star 2480.
Okay, you game to stay up for a couple with flutter wheel? We're going to use the same setup for a different arrangement, the pass the ocean, swing through, extend, but we'll just see what these two feel like. And a little bit of music, whatever you choose, maestro. Bow to the partner, bow to the corner, heads up to the middle, and a come on back. Heads past the ocean, swing through right there. Extend. Centers trade, and the centers run. Bend the line, reverse that flutter wheel. Star through, pass through, swing through with the ones you found, turn through to the corner, Alamana left with the corner, right and left grand. You're meeting at home this time, you can stop there. Sides past the ocean. Swing through, extend, centers run, bend the line, reverse the flutter wheel. Flutter wheel, past the ocean, all 8 circulate, swing through right there. Boy, run around the girl, slide through, pass through, Alamana left with the corner, promenade. When you get back home, bow to the partner, bow to the corner, stay right there. So again, just starting from a different arrangement, going with a different, or rather than your standard flutter wheel this time, and it led to some other things after that that still felt different because of where you started. You got anything you want up for you?
I got one thing, which I'll do here. So everybody think about going left. Think about your left hand. Heads go forward and back. Heads do a left, square through 4. With the outside two, do a left, do-sa-do. Do a left-handed ocean wave, and the men trade. do a left swing through. Girls run left, Ferris wheel. Pass through, left, touch a quarter, scoot back, girls go. Left, single hinge, swing through, start with the right. Girls trade, girls run, Ferris wheel. In the center, slide through, bow to the mark. All right, so left can be a very distinctive difference, and if they know it, there's a whole bunch of things you can do with it, and you have to be a little careful. Too much is too much. But you guys did good. Thank you. We have almost 30 minutes. We got. Larry wrote a lot of stuff, so okay. Does anybody have some things that you think fit into the category of more with less? Anybody want to volunteer something?
Okay, Betsy said she did.
Betsy has an idea too. She needs a volunteer.
Now I need a square. I didn't tell you to
just
sit down.
said
It's their fault.
No, Betsy didn't say it.
All I need is a substitute for my place or another couple.
One more couple.
And I'm just tossing out a couple of ideas that I've used either when teaching lessons or teaching with a limited number of basics, and I didn't want to use all the calls on the CALLERLAB list. So heads lead to the right. And I want to get to lines, but I don't want to teach circle to a line. Circle left halfway, and then 1/4 more. Back away, make lines of 4. You went kind of 5/8. Go forward and back. And the point being that someone will go 5/8, and you can kind of make a little joke, and they'll make an adjustment. Now, I didn't check. I believe our lines in sequence are out. In. So you've got 1P, 2P, 0 lines without ever using the circle to a line. Just a point of interest. And you can call from there. Square your set. Another different idea. Heads pass through. Turn right. Girls around 2. Promenade single file. Girls around 2. Boys around 1. Squeeze in. Make a line. Pass through. If you want to normalize, tag the line all the way through and face right. Now, if you didn't want to normalize with a tag the line, because we're doing more with less, untag the line. No, tag the line again. Face in. So we have our boys in the middle. Pass through. Boys, swing the nearest lady. Or guys, swing the nearest girl. Put her on the right and circle left. And then we would have to work on resolving from there. And I didn't pay attention because resolving was not my idea. My idea was to toss out these things for you to think about, and you can do whatever you want with them. Thank you, Square. Do we have other people who are going to, before they sit down, do we have other people who might want to use the dancers? Oh, use you, abuse you.
Be used. All right, Cal's coming up. He's got so don't go away.
This one's been around for years, and I've used it. A lot of other callers use it. Number 1, lead out to the right, star right. On to the next, star left. On to the next, star right. Everybody home and swing. When the dancers are tired at the end of the night, this is a quick little pickup that works out very nicely. And you can do it for all 4 couples. You can do it like a singing call does, where you have an opener, break, and closing. Use this twice, opener, break, and closing, use it twice. You can time it out for a singing call, but it works just nice, switching back and forth. Does very nicely.
Thank you, Cal. Incidentally, I just had the thought, sides pass through. Both turn left. Single file, boys around 2, girls around 1, squeeze in, make a line, and you can put the girls in the center of the line. Just simply by going in the other direction. And that's all I'm going to do with that. Just toss out the idea.
Speaking of those turn lefts and rights, square your set just quickly here. And since you're here, all right. Now, listen closely to this because this will be very unusual. All right. Heads pass through. Both turn right. Single file. Around 1, come into the middle. In the middle, you pass through or double pass through. Split the outside 2. Turn left. Around 1, come into the middle. Ladies lead Dixie style to an ocean wave. All right. Extend. Make sure you go to a left. Left, left. All right. Swing through. Start with the right. Right, right. Girls trade. Girls run. Bend the line. Whatever. That's enough of that. I won't resolve.
Okay, square your sets.
The key I was trying to get at there is sometimes that single file tandem stuff can be really fun.
All right. I've been putting stuff on Vic's database. He writes me every once in a while and says, I don't understand. A lot of this comes out of Square Dance Magazine, Sets in Order, from about 1950 through 1965 is where I'm up to now. And I'm finding a lot of very, very interesting choreography. This appears to be symmetric. Number 3, roll away. Roll away. Number 3, roll away. Everybody else promenade halfway. Okay, we've got 2 couples up here back to back. Go forward and back. Go forward again. Face the sides individually. You got a 0 box. It appears to be asymmetric. Well, it's asymmetric from the start, but basically you end up with a nice 0 box. Now you can play with them all you want to. The other thing is you've rotated the set. And so the people are basically not at their home position, and they feel good about it. I've found quite a number of these things, and basically, if you wanted to look at them, they're all on Vic's database. The other thing, a lot of these things that are here, quite frankly, are within the CDP set. And I've got a great number of them in Dancing for Busy People.
Betsy got it again. If I may say something, and it's not choreography, but if I may say something, Bob's setup, and I don't remember how you got them into the one behind the other tandem setup where you were going around 1 and coming into the middle, is a great, in our area, separate, go around 1, come into the middle. The dancers, because of what the callers do, assume lines. But if you have them one behind the other going around 1 and coming down the middle, they can't assume lines because they're not in a position to make lines. So it would be a great way to undo the preconceptions of the dancers that might be on the floor.
Yeah, one of the things to be careful of there, I did a Dixie style and ocean wave to sort of get out of it, but you can have the ladies pass through and do a touch a quarter with the gents without affecting the sides in that case. But you have to say it really fast. All right, thank you, dancers.
You sure?
Well, we may be calling on you again before we're done, but from the conceptual point of view, both Larry and I, as we talked about this, were thinking of is what is more, what is less. And when you're thinking about it, one of the things you have to think about is thinking about less. Tony Oxendine came to Rawlins, Wyoming, not last October, but a year before that, and he did 3 workshops. One workshop was on trades, one workshop was on runs, and one workshop was on circulates. And he may have done this other places, but I will tell you that we definitely got the runaround that weekend. And one of the things, whether it's runs 1.5 or trades 1.5 or any of those variations on that theme, very single calls done from all the places that can be done and fractionalized stretches the limit of your calling ability and of the and the dancers being able to understand the pieces and parts of it. And it provides tremendous amount of entertainment, if not in a open dance environment, in a workshop environment. Because most of what he did, if he'd done it, even though it was a plus floor, if he'd done it cold, nobody could do it. But because he worked through it and he worked at it a little at a time, it was an excellent, fun weekend for those of us who have these little mental people running around our heads, and he was creating stuff on the fly out of it. So be aware that things like the trades run circulates can be tremendous in their entertainment value.
The point you just made reminds me of something, Bob, is when you're playing with being more creative in whatever path you choose to take, you may find yourself in that situation where the dancers are having difficulty with it. Or as you say, you don't call it cold, you sort of give it to them a little bit of time and build up to it. So you have to remember how much difficulty for your floor are you adding when you're doing this. And if you think you're adding something that your floor may struggle with, that doesn't mean don't do it, but you want to plan ahead as to how you're going to get them there for success. And so some of the things that might not work cold, but you can think about little pieces of choreography that might help them get exposed to some of it where they're going to succeed until you get to the point where what you really want to do with them for the evening, they're able to do cleanly instead of falling all over themselves.
Just as an example, everybody visualize this. You're standing at home. You got a square set of four couples. Everybody do a partner trade once and a half. Where are you? Men can make a left-hand star. Ladies are facing wrong way promenade direction. No?
Does anybody want to see that? He'll show it to a square.
Let's get a square up. I'm about to be proved wrong, I have a feeling, but
what the heck? We're amongst friends.
All right. One more lady. There we go. All right. So, for the moment, everyone do a partner trade. Now, if you did half of a partner trade, all right, do a half of a partner trade. That means you join right hands. Okay, so I had the men in the middle instead of the ladies. All right. So if you did that partner trade once and a half, you'd be here. All right. Square your set. All right. So partner trade once and a half. Trying to think. Okay. So the ladies could star left, men can wrong way promenade. Okay. So do a single hinge. Ladies run. I want to see. Do a partner trade once and a half. There's where I was. That's where my brain was. All right. Men run. Bend the line. So there's some interesting things that can be done with that that put you in various places. Let's do this.
Do you want to take that square home and use them every night?
I could. Okay. All right. Heads lead to the right, veer to the left. Now, here's another interesting place. Do a partner trade once and a half. You have an ocean wave. All right. So, doing some of those things. Now, you got to watch the body flow on some of these patterns, and that's where I think Tony spent a lot of time, because to get the body flow right, boys run around the girls. All right. Slide through. Do this. Do a partner trade once and a half. Then you can do grand things or swing through things or recycle things or whatever. All right. Anybody else want to use them while they're here? Recycle. You got anything, Larry?
I'll check out.
Square your set.
Yeah, I will check out these last two. There are walk and dodge featured, just two pieces. One of them is where I think there may be the big in it. I had one. You do one. Yeah, okay. We can go with music. So this is, again, using the setup of a heads past the ocean, swing through, extend to get to a different wave to get started. Heads past the ocean, swing through, extend, single hinge, walk and dodge. And a partner trade, touch 1/4, single file circulate. Now the girls run. Pass through, touch 1/4. Boys run, slide through, square through, go 3. Trade by to the corner, Alaman left at the corner. Come on back and promenade back home. This next one is the one I'm worried about. Sides past the ocean, swing through. Extend, walk and dodge, wheel and deal. That's the ouch. See that ouch for the boy? See that boy that had to come back over and get back in? Pass through, touch 1/4. Now the centers trade and the boys run around the girls. Slide through, pass through, Alaman left, and a right look grand. Promenade home. That's why you have to quality test them with dancers, not just trust checkers or a program. Bow to the partner. Thank you, gang.
All right. This is Rachel on Contra Tunes from the Lloyd Shaw Foundation.
Dick, that ouch was for illustration purposes only.
All right. Any other contributions to our creativeness with less?
We'd love to know if this sparked any particular thoughts in anybody.
Vic Scott.
Whoa. Can we get the square back up? This is along the lines of the sequence that Cal did earlier with the couple number 3 roll away and that kind of stuff. Need one more. Okay, let's have couple number 3 roll away. Couple number 1. Hold on. Couple number 1 also roll away. Good. Couple number 1 walk forward, split couple number 3, go around 1 to a line. Heads go forward and back. Sides go forward and back. Sides go right and left through. Back away. Heads step forward into the middle. Bend the line. Square through 3. Does that do it? Alaman left. Oh, you're half out. I wasn't watching. Ta-da!
All right, Vic.
Yes.
I'm going to do the same pattern, and I'm going to tell you when to stop. All right? Do the exact same pattern.
Heads roll away. Couple number 1, walk forward.
It wasn't exact.
Couple 1, walk forward, split couple number 3, around 1 to a line. Forward and back.
Forward again.
Forward again.
All right. Now, do the right and left through around them.
Ooh.
All right. Now, what was next?
Well, what bends
the bend the line? Before you do that, because you can always do that, okay, make an arch between the two couples and the ladies chain through the arch. The side ladies chain through the arch. The side ladies chain through the arch. Go through, turn her around. All right, and of course you can chain back. We won't do it.
Meanwhile,
now,
the heads are looking at you, going, "What are you doing?"
Yes, but you can just say center circle up 4 if you wanted to, all the way around until you get back home. It's the easy way out.
You got 2 ladies out.
Well, normally I would have chained her back through the tunnel. but I decided not to waste that time. All right. So, but recognizing that once you get them in the lazy H formation, you can do a whole bunch of things with them. You can have them go through the center arch. You can have them go through the outside arches. So you can play games with that arching concept there without adding any terminology to the puzzle.
Right.
One of the things that you can do that they gave me, Bob gave me the idea, is that you can have one couple do, or a set of couples do one thing while the other set does something else. Heads past the ocean, extend, and recycle. This is not what I'm doing. This is just how I'm getting us in here to change partners. Good thing I'm not going to resolve. So Bob was doing the partner trade once and a half. So have everybody pass through, and the outside's partner trade once and a half, and the center's pass the ocean. Boys trade. By the right hand, turn a quarter, because we may not know hinge, but they'll do that. Boys run and pass through. And those facing out, now this is a little more advanced vocabulary, but those facing out, cloverleaf whilst the centers pass the ocean. And for some reason, dancers get a kick out of the word whilst. So you can have the ends do one, or the outsides do one thing, the centers do something else. It feels a little different, and they get a different sense of where they are and what they're doing. Thank you, everybody.
So I think what we've tried to show you this afternoon is whether you're working with limited basics or you're working with a program such as Mainstream and just setting up a different arrangement, or whether you're doing some of these other things that have been demonstrated, that there are a variety of ways that you can do more with less. And so that hopefully we're giving you some things to think about and some things to go back and try.
Any final questions? For the handout that I put out, the CDP number 2 has a error in it. I can either let you figure it out, or just between the right and left through and the face partner, there should be a pass through on CDP number 2 on the back side. And on the mainstream module, or module mainstream number 1, there is a rather critical flaw. I have a couples trade in there. You're facing out when you do that. Either you have to be really good and do it, not at mainstream, or you need to do a partner trade, pass through, face your partner, pass through, because you're facing the wrong direction on that one. If you're doing that module mainstream number 1, instead of where it says couples trade to the end, if you do a partner trade, pass through, face your partner, pass through, Alaman left, and promenade your partner. The key is you're facing out and you're out of sequence at that moment in time. So you could do the couples trade if you are willing to do facing trades, which is a little strange. All right? Come see me if that doesn't make any sense.
If anybody would like to see the samples I was using, since I didn't put them in as a handout, if you come up and see me, give you my email address. I'd be glad to send them to you.
All right. We very much appreciate you coming out and playing with us this afternoon. And with that, thank you.